Hello, Booktube people. I'm Nissa. This is my lovely shelf. Isn't it pretty? Is it pretty? Actually, you probably can't see much of it. This is my ginormous TV. I have been following Booktube for probably 2 years now. I really dove into it. I can't remember what book series I read. Maybe it was Partials, I'm thinking. And I couldn't find any book reviews for it, so I went on to YouTube and I stumbled across somebody. Not sure who it was now, but ever since then I just fell in love with the Booktube community. It's just so wonderful. It's so nice to have an outlet for people who like to read to go and talk and visit and discuss with other people who like to read, because it's amazing to me how there are so few genuine book lovers around my area, at least, that like to talk and who like to read the same things that I like to read. I mean, sure, if you like Hunger Games or Divergent or something like that, then you're gonna find people who like it. But if you read something like, say, Partials or Delirium or even The Fifth Wave, stuff like that, you don't always find people who like it in rural areas. I'm from Wisconsin, so there's not a whole slew of book lovers around here, at least not in my little tiny Amish community area. So I finally got some kind of a device to be able to record things. So I thought this would be the perfect time to try Booktube a little bit and see how it goes. So I mostly read YA. I love YA. I don't think there's really an age limit to age genre, if YA is what you like to read. If you're 40, if you're 12, if you're somewhere in between, that's great. Just find something to read. That's, I think, the most important thing. So I read mostly YA. There are a couple adult and the new adult ones that are kind of thrown in there, like I really just click with the book and it happens to be an adult, or it happens to be, children's or whatever. I will read it and I will devour it, and that will be it. It will be mine. So, yeah, this is, I get most of my books off of Book Outlet, actually, because you can find books, hardcovers, that are like $15, $16. Normally you can get them for like $3 or $4. I mean, you can't beat that, and they're gorgeous, gorgeous copies. These are some of them that I got off of Book Outlet. I mean, look at this. It's a hardcover, and I'm pretty sure I spent like $3.99 on this, and it is normally, I think, $17.99. Yeah, $17.99 normally, and I spent about $3 on it. So I highly, highly, highly suggest Book Outlet. It is fantastic. It's how I have accumulated this ginormous TBR pile, and yeah, it's an addiction of mine. But I love it. I do occasionally shop at like Barnes & Noble or Amazon once in a while, but if I'm desperate enough to go and get a book and I really want it, I'm just gonna go to Barnes & Noble and get it, because I don't want to wait for shipping and all that stuff, So I also read a ton on Audible. I love Audible. It's awesome. I mean, you spend like, $15 or $20 a month depending on what you get, and you get 2 free audiobooks. I mean, that's awesome. It's really great. And plus you get tons of deals on there. And I work a desk job, so it's easier for me. Like, instead, some people listen to like a radio or something when they work. It's so much easier for me to listen to a book that I really, really want to read, but I don't always have time to sit there and read the actual paper version of it. So I love audiobooks. They're awesome. They're more than just a narrator blabbing through all the text. I mean, you really get more of a performance out of it. Sometimes you can really feel that emotional connection if you're not really having that connection with the writing style. Sometimes a really good narrator can turn that around, and you can finally actually like this story that maybe you wouldn't have normally liked it if you had just sat there and read it. I find it's really helpful for books that maybe start a little bit slower, because you can kind of get past that slowness a lot faster than reading it. So I have tons more books that I have read in the past year that I don't actually have copies of, because they're all Audible copies that are on my phone or my Kindle or whatever, you know. So, but yeah, I thought I'd share a couple of the books that I really, really enjoyed from the past year. Now, these aren't necessarily books that were published this past year, but they were books that I read from, you know, in the past year that I really, really enjoyed reading. So, the first of those there is Cruel Beauty. This was fantastic. I really was iffy about it. The only reason I actually bought it was because HarperCollins was having a sale on these editions, because I think the sequel or the next one from this author or something had come out on paperback or was just being published or something. So they had put this one for sale for like $4 or $5 or something like that. And if you bought like 2 of them, you got free shipping or something. So I bought this one and another one. And so I was really like, well, it sounds kind of interesting, but I don't really know. So anyways, I ended up buying it. I read it in like 2 days and I loved it. It was fantastic. It was such a surprise. And I love that when you pick up a book and it turns into this wonderful surprise. You really enjoy it. That's awesome. So that was one. Another one that I read was, I mean, come on. This series is so good. This is the second one. This is from the Remnant Chronicles. I think it's going to be a series of 3 books, if I remember correctly. This is the second one. The Kiss of Deception is the first one. And this series is so good. It's kind of fantasy, more so I think than anything. It's kind of set in a time of princes and princesses and that type of thing. It was just fantastic. I know that this series has gotten quite a bit of hype, but not as much as some other series that I've seen from the past year. And what I love the most about this is that in the first book, there's a lot of mystery. You didn't really know which character was which. You got so many different perspectives with that. And it was just really, really good. And then the second one here, this one was just as good as the first, which is so rare nowadays to have a second book that was just as good as the first book. So that was what I really, really loved about this. And this author, she's just the sweetest person. I think I tweeted something about this book on Twitter and she responded to me like twice. That's awesome. You know, I love it when that happens. Very, very good. I highly, highly recommend it. Another one was Snow Like Ashes. I think this one came out last fall, maybe, somewhere around there, or maybe October-ish. And I know that the second one is coming out here pretty soon. I think maybe in October. I don't know, don't quote me on that. This one was really good. This one kind of broke me into the fantasy type of genre within YA. I really hadn't read much fantasy, and this one kind of broke me into it. It was really good. That and Red Queen. Red Queen was another good one that was kind of on the fantasy realm. It was kind of almost like a hybrid between like a fantasy and a dystopian, and so that combined with this really kind of threw me into reading a little bit of fantasy. So this one was fantastic as well. I'll try to leave the Goodreads to these so you can kind of get like a synopsis of them, and just, you know, they were all really, really good. So this one was really good. It was very captivating, and it kind of sucked me in, and then I had to finish it. I had to see what was gonna happen. I can't wait to read the second one. Another really, really good one from this year. This book got so much hype. It is ridiculous. I've never seen a book get this much hype before it was even published. Before it was even published, this author, I think this is her first book that she'd ever published, and it got so much hype surrounding it that it was unreal. It's like if you paid attention to any kind of book media at all, you knew about this book months in advance and everything. And I have to say that this book, I think, did live up to the hype. It was fantastic. And that book was an Ember in the Ashes. And this was, I'm sure you guys know this, this was marketed as a standalone, which was the biggest joke I think I've ever heard from the past year. It was just, like, really? A standalone? Nothing was resolved? Anyways, I won't get into that. But this book was so good. It was just fantastic. It's one of those books, I think, that you have to be in the right mindset to read it. But once it sucks you in, you are not going to be able to put it down until you finish it. This book was so good, and it was so raw and real, and you don't always see that in YA. So I really, really appreciated this book. A couple of the other ones that I read this year, I did actually read The Chemical Gardens, which I liked it, but it was okay, I guess. It was not the best YA trilogy, but it was alright. I did read The Wrath in the Dawn, and I thought that one was pretty good. I had my problems with it, but I thought it was okay. I thought it was good. I also read The 100. That one was really good. Now, the reason that I actually read that series at all was I was looking at TV shows, and The 100 TV became a television show, and it was actually on its second season. And so then I Googled it or whatever, and I found out it was a book series. So then I really wanted to read the books before I watched any of the TV show, because a lot of times if the TV show follows along with the book, then it'll spoil the book. So I read the books. They were wonderful, great, a great kind of sci-fi type of YA series. It was wonderful. And then the TV show, I really loved the TV show. It was really good. I've only watched the first season because by the time I had read the books and then watched the first season, the second season had just ended, and it's not on Netflix, it's not on Hulu, and it's not on DVD yet. So I was kind of SOL. So I will be waiting, because I believe that comes out in October as well on DVD. So I will be binge watching that with my husband, and it will be fantastic. I also read the Testing trilogy, which was another one that was okay. It was alright. What else? Oh, The Darkest Minds. Fantastic series. I know that this series is, it's not brand new, but it's recent, I think. And I believe the last book came out maybe sometime last year or early this year, maybe. It was so good. It was nothing like I was expecting it to be. When I picked up The Darkest Minds, I didn't even really remember what I expected it to be like, but it was so good. I couldn't put it down. I had to devour the next two books as fast as I could. And those were audibles that I listened to, and they were just phenomenal. Great narrators, great writing, just wonderful. And I am hoping to be able to actually pick up a copy of the entire series at some point here within the next year. I work full-time and I have 2 kids and a husband and a life, so I can't always get every book in hardcover or an actual copy of every book that I read and that I love all at the same time. It's just reality of the situation. So, it is what it is, I suppose. But yeah, so I am hoping to be able to do a couple videos a month. I don't know. It's really just going to depend on how things go and what books I read and if I feel like I have coherent thoughts on them. I'm hoping to maybe go through some of these books that were my favorites from this year, and maybe do small reviews on those to start out with, and then go from there. Maybe as I read a book, I'll review a book if I have good thoughts on it or not. It will kind of depend on how everything is received and if I have time, because I am busy. But yeah, if you have any questions or recommendations, I'm always looking for more book recommendations, so definitely put them down there. I love YA, I love dystopians, I'm starting to really like fantasies, and I think every girl loves a good romance once in a while. Who doesn't? So yeah, let me know what you think, and let me know what you have read this year, what you would like me to read maybe, or give a try, or give a review on. Maybe I've already read it even. So thanks for watching. Bye.